Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be the first video in a few. We're going to talk about the 8-week trip we did in our new caravan. My whole life has been a little bit about trick stations and railways.
Mine clearly wasn't.
Little Australian
passport.
We left there and then drove to Broken Hill. And
So we set up at dusk again, and then it was about finding what was broken, pretty much, because there had been a few things that had broken on our van and on other people's vans that we had to try and fix. When we got the van, actually, I don't think we've said this yet, that we didn't have a stone guard. So we thought, being that it was an off-road van, that the stone guard was included, which we very much needed it. So by that point we were like, okay, already we can see that our van is not going to cope with the dirt roads that we want to go on. So Dave decided that day it was all about just going to all the Bunnings we could, all the hardware. No Bunnings.
No Bunnings.
That's right.
There was a flower pot, like
a gardening shop
to get irrigation fittings, which has the 13mm barb that fits a lot of the lines, the water lines. So I got some there. I also went to the Reese plumbing store in town. Picked up a few other bits there. We went to, there's a Mitre 10, big Mitre 10 in Broken Hill. So we got some square tube and some doormats and some shade cloth and sort of jerry rigged up a stone guard to get us by for the trip.
Hey, I think it was pretty well done with what you could get. It lasted the whole trip.
I had to refresh the doormats at Alice Springs, but we did that, and then we also discovered too that in our travels between,
I get so embarrassed when we talk about it, but
because we hadn't checked the van over thoroughly before we left,
we only got it like a day before, and the assumption is that if the cartridge is the canister's in, you would assume that the lid was on. That was my assumption. That was a poor assumption.
Yeah. So the lid was in the caravan here.
Yeah. Which meant that all the excrement
some through the back of the van.
Poo all through the caravan.
So I ended up actually unmounting the toilet from the caravan, so we could clean all that out.
I was ready to go home. I actually turned to Dave. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's just go home. I don't want to do it anymore. It's too hard.
So the other people we were with, they didn't have as many issues. So my parents, my aunt and uncle, have very similar van to ours. Not the same brand, but they're all virtually all built the same way. Yeah. So they had some issues. So we built some more protective shrouds to protect the plumbing for at least for my parents. Bree pretty much stayed. She did a fair bit of cleaning and stuff.
And groceries and stuff, because this was our last stop before we were then going to head really out into like...
Yeah, so we were going from here, we were going to be, I think it was 14 days till we got to a major town centre with big grocery stores and stuff. So we did a big load of shopping, and then we... everyone else went out for a pub dinner. We decided to stay home and
eat noodles. So we just left Broken Hill, and we're heading up the Silver City Highway.
Yep.
Our first stop was Pack Saddle.
Yep. We all again had a non-alcoholic beverage for breakfast, and it was a really, really nice pub. Like, really, really liked it. We wish we had more time for some of these places to stop and have a meal and whatever, but we were pushed for time. We had a limited amount of days to get to Birdsville for the bash. Yeah. So we went Pack Saddle, and then we kept...
Yeah, we kept going. So then we went up to Milparinka. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Prinker. Went there, but the kids were asleep actually at this stop, and so I was like, well, I'm not getting out, I'm not waking them up. So Dave went in and had a quick non-alcoholic beer, and then came back and we drove off. I think people actually caught up to us in that one because we were like, we're just going to keep going, and they stayed for a little bit longer. And then that's when we got to Tibooburra, and that's where we stopped, had some lunch.
Yep.
There was a really nice park there, so the boys got out and were able to...
Yeah, kids had a play.
I say the boys. Thomas was 6 months old. He didn't do anything.
George had a play with my niece.
Yeah.
And some people went off to the Tibooburra pub for another non-alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, so that was really good. Got the last bit of fuel, I think, at Tibooburra that we needed. And then off to Cameron's Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were excited because we've been to Cameron's Corner before kids.
Yep.
And we loved it.
We went before a caravan.
Such a cool, little spot, again, in the middle of nowhere. The people who run them are usually very charismatic, lovely people. And again, they were this time, but they were not feeling so great when we got there because they'd had some issues.
They were pretty much told that they couldn't serve any food, and then, or at least the day before we were there, they were told they couldn't serve any food. So that was another pub meal we were all looking forward to that we couldn't have. And then
the day after,
the day that we were there, they were told that because they can't serve food, they can't serve alcohol. So, we're at a pub that wasn't allowed to sell any beer.
A pub with no beer.
Yeah, well, had plenty of beer, just couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we decided, we'll park all our vans in a big circle and have a fire.
Well, where else are you going to go? You can't go anywhere else. You've just driven there for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So everyone who was camping at Cameron's Corner that night instead got together. They did a big fire out in the fire pit outside. So everyone bought their own drinks over and sat around, had drinks, and got to meet people. Unfortunately, not that it's a bad thing at all, but because we have young kids...
It meant one of us couldn't go, so I decided because I had to feed Thomas, I'd stay back with the boys in the van. But that was fine. I was tired, so I was happy to go to sleep, to be honest.
But we all walked over to the actual corner. There's a post on the corner. So that's Cameron's Corner's obviously the corner of Queensland, South Australia and New South Wales.
Yeah.
We went there and then we got up in the morning and continued on our way.
Yeah.
I got put in the front of our convoy and...
Yeah, so you were setting the speed and some of the people behind us decided that was a bit too fast and that they needed to have a...
Some people upchucked.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had to pull it back a bit. But it was a really nice graded road. I mean, who knows what the weather's done to it now, but when we went through, it was like a highway. And we drove all the way over to Murdy. Murdy's a spot along the Strzelecki Highway. Strzelecki runs from down near Maree, I think, all the way up to the Moonby gas fields, or maybe even further.
Yeah, it's and again, well graded usually, and they were actually tarring a lot of it while we were there, so that's probably all tarred now. Yeah.
There was a point where we got overtaken by a lot of... well, no, not overtaken, we passed a big semi along the highway towards the Moonby gas fields, and
a whole lot of people got
three
some
people had
damage.
stone damage to their windscreens, and my uncle ended up losing his driver's window.
It was really bad.
Completely shattered, couldn't see out of it. So when we pulled up at the Moonby, there's a rest area just near the Moonby gas fields. We
saw someone from
the night before,
Cameron's
actually.
Corner, and she saved us.
She had a big roll of contact, so we put that on both sides of his window so it didn't collapse in.
And that's where we found out that Lynn, so Dave's mum, her caravan drawer had come out completely, so there was just cutlery all through her van. Anyway, then we moved on to Inaminka pub, which was our planned stop. We were planning to stop at Inaminka for the night, but then we found out that the commons were flooded, so... Yeah,
so the plan was to stay at Inaminka and then drive up the Cordillo Downs Road to get to Birdsville.
And that was all flooded out, so we couldn't do that plan. So then, again, had a little bevy.
Got some fuel,
and then we actually headed up to the Dig Tree camp spot instead.
Yeah, the Birkenwells Dig Tree. Yeah, it was a really nice spot. Definitely recommended.
So, there was the window damage. The road was flooded to go straight into camp, so we had to do like a massive detour. And then, Lynn and Mark's trundle drawer opened. Trundle drawer? That's not what it's called.
Tunnel boot.
Tunnel boot opened, and their table was just on the floor. That
was exciting.
Yeah.
And our plans changed a bit, so because we couldn't do the Cordillo Downs track, we ended up having to drive up the Araby Road. So the next morning we got up, and it was probably for the longest and most frustrating day's drive for all of us.
Yeah, because this was the last stretch to Birdsville, and we had to get there that night. No, we didn't.
We had one more night. We could have gone, but we, I guess...
we were all just busting to get into Birdsville, I think. We were just done with the travels. Everyone had sustained damage. Everyone was sick of, packing up every single night. We were just sick of that constant get there, pack up, keep moving.
The next day we got up. Some people went and had a look at the dig tree stuff that didn't see it the day before. Then we all left, turned up the Araby Road.
Had to stop because that was 2 hours. And it was like... literally just this massive T intersection in the middle of nowhere, so that was nice. And then we continued on to Haddon's Corner. Yeah,
we decided partway through that we all went, we're here, we're not going to do it again. Well, we don't know when we'll be able to do it again, so let's go into Haddon's Corner. So that added a little detour. We hooked left, drove in. There was talks about, so there's 2 large sand dunes as you head into Haddon Corner, and there was talks about unhitching and leaving the vans behind.
Yeah. There was a chicken track that was a lot easier around the dune on the right, so we took the left, which goes over the dune, and we took it at a bit of speed, I guess, is probably the issue.
We didn't go that fast. Like, if I didn't have to stop, we wouldn't have needed four-wheel drive. I was going fast enough to go up over the dune with the caravan on, but as we got to the top, there was a car lining up to come the other way. Now, thankfully, they hadn't, so we didn't have the head on. We stopped, but I had to go into four-wheel drive to get stuck and come down the other side, and they ended up going around on the left after that. And then everyone else just decided, well, okay, we can all make it. We'll all do it. So they all did. We had a good friend of ours who they didn't even own a four-wheel drive, and they did it towing their van. My uncle's caravan sustained, he smashed one of his caravan taps, so he managed to save most of the water from that tank and swap it with one of the taps that I bought in Broken Hill. And then we then decided that we'd send my little brother over. He was just in his car, no trailer, nothing. So he went over the next dune and radioed through, all clear, and we all went through.
That was probably what we should have done in the first place.
But we got to Haddon's Corner, we had some lunch, we all had photos, it was windy again. Most places were quite windy, actually.
But it was good, it's good to check off those places and go, I've been to that corner, I've been to here, and So it was really, that was cool. That was for me, I was like, another place we've been to. And then after Haddon's Corner, we continued.
And then I think everyone secretly wanted to stop, but no one said
that they wanted to stop. So the last rest area, we were driving past, and I think someone said, does anyone want to stop? And we all just went, no, let's just keep going. But everyone felt like they should have stopped. We were just...
Everyone wanted to stop, but no one said that they
wanted to stop. So anyway.
We all smashed it through to Birdsville.
I just remember the screaming, and people would talk to us on the radio, and our common response was just, can't hear you, we've got 2 screaming kids, we've just got to keep going, The sun was full on in our face.
So we pulled into Birdsville quite late. We found a spot in Birdsville on the commons. It had been flooded, so everything was nice and soft.
We went on the wrong side though, remember?
Everyone else was camped on that side.
Yeah, there was a lot of people on that side, but they had said everyone needed to stay on the
right, but there was no space. And heaps of people camped on the left. So we all pulled in on the left. We found somewhere to camp. We set up camp and breathed a sigh of relief.
Because we were going to stay there for that night and the night after. We were all just a bit we're finally here at Birdsville. But so that was us getting to Birdsville. Next episode, or next, thing, we're going to be talking about more of our trip. So Birdsville, Bash, and Tabulia, which is where we then leave our friends and go with Lynn and Mark on the next part of our adventure. We're going to go get our kids and go...
Yeah, we're going out. So.
Go out. So...
Stay up.
Thanks for listening. Bye. This is Sydney to Birdsville.
Happy now? There's that good looking rooster over there.